Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on the 7th. Thursday, the 7th of December, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. Now, what do you need to do? If a fellow lived down, say a fellow was a commissioner of a dam or whatever, he was a guy that was in charge to take a look at the dam, and he saw the dam was filling up too full of water. Cracks were developing in the surface of the dam. And he got a news report. Hey, next week, torrential rains are going to hit the area. He shakes his head while he's walking back and forth on the dam. And all the people that live down below the dam, he shakes his head back and forth and he says, this dam is absolutely not going to withstand this. It's going to be a dam breakage. So he goes down into the communities down below and he starts to warn the people. That's what this situation's like. But I'm going to tell you what. Some people heed the warnings, some people don't. But I'm going to tell you what. The mainstream media and independent media out here, guys that are... There's a number of them on YouTube like me who... There's very few places you can actually find. Places like Rumble, YouTube, different places you can find independent. They're not part of the mainstream. Like me. I'm not part of the mainstream media. I don't get... They don't send me a teleprompter sheet every morning telling me what to say. And there's a few of us out here still that don't get that teleprompter sheet. They've done shows on this where you'll hear them all repeating the same line verbatim out there within the mainstream media, saying exactly the same things as if they're reading from a teleprompter. So when this dam breaks, and you say, well, what's the dam? The dam is a situation in the world that's leading us toward total disaster right now. It's like the dam filling with water. We're going to have torrential rains next week. The dam's going to break. Well, this situation that we're in is going to break. Now, where am I going with all of this? I'm going someplace. Just give me a second or two. All these people, when this thing cracks open, it might be the financial system. It might be the war. Maybe we'll enter into World War III. For real. Take a lot of people by surprise. Maybe the financial system will tip over and break, and banks will just freeze right up, the whole thing. Because it's not like we haven't got enough warning for all these things that are happening. But nothing quite really drastic has happened yet. But the people out there, now I'm talking about the general population, the bulk of the people out there, they listen to the mainstream media and somehow they're not getting the cohesion of what's actually happening. They're not getting the overall effect. They're not getting the sense that we're in this period where everything could just go haywire. They don't realize the danger of the situation. They're living their lives. They're working hard, and they have to work hard now because pay's not going up, but prices are. And so they're very busy. And they haven't got time for all of this. Provided that they don't think that it's anything that's all that different from what's gone on before over the past 100 years or whatever. All this stuff has happened before to a certain degree, but not like now. This is different. So, when this thing breaks, and I'm going to tell you guys getting off close to breaking, it's going to take all of them by surprise. And they haven't had a chance to mentally prepare themselves. Now, you guys watching on here, what I'm telling you right now, and what I've already done this. But you guys got to do it if you haven't done it already. And some of you out in my audience have already done it. You've already realized the dam's going to break, like I've realized it. And then when it happens, because you've mentally prepared yourself ahead of time, then when it happens, it's not going to take you with the shock and awe that it's going to hit these other people with. They are quite literally, their knees are going to be knocking. They're going to be so frightened that they lose the ability to even maybe go to work that morning. They might go out and get drunk. Well, what good are they if they're drunk? Because they haven't mentally prepared for it. They haven't, and even if they don't get drunk, they might actually get physically ill when they see their world crumbling around them. But you, if you've mentally prepared for it, you'll be able to still function. Because you have to go through that period where it strikes you hard. When you come to the realization that, hey, this world right now, the way it's unsustainable. And so it might not be the end of the world as in there's going to be no world anymore, we're all going to be dead. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here is a world in change caused by turbulence and chaos that's coming directly in front of us. And it's coming fast. Right now is the time, if you haven't done it already, mentally prepare yourself that this is going to get really, really nasty. And when it gets nasty, it's going to get really, really nasty quick. Let's get into some of the stuff here that's going on right now. Now, these nations out there that are on, I'll call it the opposing side, in other words, the East, they're working together. They have big meetings. Saudi crown prince is meeting with Putin, and Putin is meeting with the chiefs of Iran, and China leaders going over and meeting with Putin, and the leader of North Korea is taking his train in and meeting with Putin, and they're all meeting together cohesively. They're all, and they're not telling us what they're talking about. Well, one of the things that they know, that the United States now, well, when they take one look at our administration, it just gives off an air of weakness. First off, that right off the get-go, it gives an air of weakness. Maybe that's a false impression that they're getting. But still, it's there when they watch the news. They watch our news. Do you think they don't? They watch our news and they see, and they think, hey, this is weak. It appears weak. It appears very weak. That's part of it. But another part of it is they know that if they get us divided on too many fronts, too many war fronts, how many wars can we handle at once? We got the Ukraine one going on, now one in the Middle East that involves multiple countries. And here, what about this? Blinken conveys unwavering support for Guyana after Venezuela's Maduro proclaims Essequibo is ours, gives energy companies 3 months to exit. And look, it's almost like a mini version of what happened in over there in Eastern Europe. They're marking it off what they want. Why are they doing that? Could it be this? They know that we're getting divided on too many fronts, and they're saying, well, how many fronts can the United States fight on? If we want this piece of land, we'll buy Blinky, we'll take it. If enough of them do that, maybe it'll work for them. Because the United States will be like, they're like a bear surrounded by a pack of wolves coming in from its flanks. You get too many wolves. You get 100 wolves after a bear. Bear's a lot stronger than a wolf, but every time the bear turns around to try to swat one of them, he runs. And then while he's turned around, another one comes in at his ankles. And that's what it's like. This is another bite at the ankle here and they want Guyana. It says Neighboring Venezuela now considers around 3/4 of the oil-rich nation theirs. It's ours. They're just taking it. It says Maduro vowed to create a Venezuela state known as Guyana Essequibo, for which he will grant Venezuelan citizenship to Guyanese residents there. Maduro, so on and so forth. Evidently, it's very oil rich. And this is what they're fighting over, oil. It says a Guyana Army helicopter was reported missing near the border with Venezuela. The State Department is involved. It says Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke with Guyanese President Mohammed Afrin Ali to reaffirm the United States' unwavering support for Guyana's sovereignty, said the State Department late Wednesday. So the United States is going to support Guyana. So what are we going to do? Get in another war with Venezuela? Be a third one. And like I told you yesterday, there's other countries that's looking to join into this and also join the BRICS. I mean, I heard yesterday there's like over 30 of them. All these countries are in a big long line of them ready to join the BRICS. We got countries joining NATO too. It's the final stages. It's the final roundup where just before the game, you're out there on the field and they're like, I'll take Joey. And the other guy says, I'll take Sam. And the other guy says, well, I'll take, and when they get done doing all that, then they got their two teams. That's what's going on. You gotta get real about it all, and say to yourself, hey, you know what? The world's dividing into two halves, and they're getting ready to fight. And, this whole thing could just blow up so quick. Okay, China warns against undermining the Belt and Road Plan after Italy withdrawals. Let's see, Italy probably got something to do with this, why Italy's withdrawing from the Belt and Road Initiative. Because China was all excited about Italy joining up to the Belt and Road Initiative. I remember back when. This is very important to China. But China's on that other team. Right? And Italy is well within the block of NATO. On this team, right? Could that have something to do with it? It says its only major Western partner for the Belt and Road Initiative pulled out of the infrastructure project. Italy was the first of the group of 7 to take part in China's ambitious goal and plan, but notified Beijing it would withdraw in 2024. See the cooling off? Now, over here, the Senate Republicans are blocking Ukraine and Israel aid from advancing as they demand border policy changes. And so we got this deadlock right now evidently occurring. It says Senate Republicans on Wednesday blocked the advance of a U.S. $110 billion package of wartime funding for Ukraine and Israel, as well as other national security priorities. It's all blocked. Blocked right up. It's almost like a guy that's got constipated. Constipation of money flow. No, this is not a laughing matter. This is very, very bad. And sad. Death and hunger as Israel's war on Gaza enters the 3rd month. Fighting rages as Israeli troops are pressing further south with carpet bombardment of entire neighborhoods. If you don't know what that is, as they call it carpet bombing. It's basically they just drop a whole aircraft thing of bombs all at once. It blows up a whole city block or whatever. If you're in that city block, you're gone. And they can blow up a whole city block at once. Carpet bombardment of entire neighborhoods. They're leveling the whole place. There's millions of people live there. Not good. Not good indeed. Oh, I seen something else too this morning. I'll just tell you about what it is because I haven't got a news story pulled up on it. I got it from the Hindustan Times. Russia has said very clearly that if there's F-16s flying over top of Ukraine, they don't matter. It doesn't matter to them what country they originated in. They're going to shoot them down. And that would include the pilots. Now, I don't know what countries might launch F-16s into Ukraine. What air bases they might fly out of, I don't know. But I do know the countries that are around Ukraine. There's countries like Germany, and there's countries that surround Ukraine. There's countries like Poland, and there's countries like Moldova, and there's countries like Romania. They all surround Ukraine. F-16, how long a distance would an F-16's fuel reserve? They would have to come from a nearby country to fly over Ukraine. If Russia knocked one of those down, and it's got a pilot that's in one of the NATO countries inside it, this could be a major incident that could spark World War III. Now, but Russia said, we're going to shoot them down. We don't care what flag they got on the side of the plane. They're going to come down if they're flying over Ukraine, F-16s. And that's a warning. They're not going to allow any F-16 air cover over Ukraine, evidently. Let me just see if I can find this story real quick. It was in the Hindustan Times. Here it is, right here. Yeah, my computer's not all that fast. Give me a second, guys. Well, it's right next to my head there. It says, "Will destroy F-16s even if Russia, and Russia warns NATO nations. Russia planning to attack NATO members, that's question mark, it says, will destroy F-16s even if launched from basically other countries." Just the one right next to my ear here. See? Some reason it won't click on. Maybe because of my screen here. Won't allow it or something. Now, respiratory illnesses are on the rise across the United States. The CDC is warning. Centers for Disease Control. This is probably an understatement. So not just for kids. All you adults, myself included, I'm doing it. I'm popping, I'll tell you, I'm popping cod liver oil caplets. And that's a great source of vitamin A. But you got to be careful not to take too many. Read on the bottle. Make sure you follow directions. Don't take too many. Don't get excited and take the whole bottle because vitamin A, if you take too much of it, it can act as it can toxify your system. Not good. It can make you very sick, in fact. I'll tell you a little story. The explorers were up there in the Arctic, making their way toward the North Pole and all this kind of stuff, This was back in the day. This was like, I don't know, 100 years ago or something. And they ate a polar bear liver because they were starving. I guess they cooked it over the fire and they all gobbled it down. I think 2 of them died. What did they die from? Vitamin A. So vitamin A is so important for your body if you haven't got any in your body. But if you take too much of it, it's toxic. Well, anything's toxic. If you eat too much salt, for crying out loud, if you pour a whole shaker in your food and eat it all, you're going to get sick. You probably vomit. Or if you don't vomit, you get too much salt in your system, it can act as toxicity. Almost anything can be if you go too... people actually poison themselves with water. They have these water kicks, and they actually quite literally drown themselves. It's happened. I know you guys are probably snickering right now thinking, hey, that could possibly never happen. It's happened. People have drowned themselves by drinking too much water. I mean, that's. But these respiratory illnesses are on the rise. I'm taking cod liver oil and vitamin D3, every single day. I make sure I don't miss a day. Trying to stay up on the vitamin C by eating lots of fresh fruit and vegetables as well. I don't want no respiratory illness. So I'm also avoiding people out there that are coughing. But you could get it anyway, even doing all that kind of stuff. But maybe you won't get it quite as bad as the other guy who it might end up in the hospital or something, the other guy, because he hasn't taken his vitamins. So right now it's time to think about that too. Maybe get on a few of those vitamin D3. Everybody's low in that. And that's so needed to fight respiratory illnesses. It's so good. Just do a little bit of research on your own. You'll see vitamin D3 is wonderful. Vitamin A is wonderful. Vitamin C is wonderful. Okay, enough preaching about vitamins. Let's get on here and take a look at the silver price today. Silver's down 21 cents again to 23.66. Too bad it went up in price. We were better off before when it was around 24 but stable. Now we end up lower than it was even before. One little jump to the upside, and now we overshoot it to the downside. Stupidity on wheels. But they got to protect that dollar. And this is how they do it, because you can buy a lot of gold and silver with a dollar. It's only going to work to a certain point. And then it's going to come unhinged. It's going to come unglued on them all at once. But I figure part of the reason why, I think the Shanghai Gold Exchange and the other factors out there of people who are buying gold, they like this. They're still in the accumulation phase. Places like China, Russia, all of the central banks of the West, they're all accumulating, and they all are kind of going along with this because while they're doing their accumulation. But what do you think's going to happen when they're not able to accumulate the quantities they want any longer? And they throw their hands up in the air and they say, well, that was that. It was fun while it lasted, and we got our vault half full. Oh, we'd like to have got a bit more, but there ain't enough left. So what do you think's going to happen to the price then when they haven't got any? When they start, doesn't have any, but when they start to, when acquiring it becomes too difficult to require for the kind of orders these central banks want to buy. So they say, well, okay, we want to buy 100 tons of gold. Oh, we can't get it. Well, what can we get? Can we get 50 tons? The guy says, no, we can't get 50 tons anymore. Well, can we get 25 tons? No, we can't even obtain that. Can we get 10? Please tell me we can get 10. At least. No, can't get 10. Can't get 10 tons anymore. Can we get 5? 5. Please. 5. We gotta have 5. No, we can't get 5 tons anymore. The most I can get you is 200 pounds of coal. The guy says, that's hardly even worth it. Or not even worth the effort. What happens to the price then when it becomes too hard to obtain? Even for the big guys who got the money, got all the money they want. The ink isn't even dried on the stuff yet. They just print it and buy gold. So, can't you see this is going to end? This is unsustainable again. But it's great for accumulation for the central banks as long as it keeps going. But it's also good for accumulation for you because you're going to take advantage of the same thing the central banks are taking advantage of. And why do you think they're taking advantage of this? While it lasts. That's the big key word here, while it lasts. Okay, Bitcoin is at 43,421. Ethereum's at 2334. XRP's at 64.2 cents. So crypto's been doing good lately. It's back in the bullish. How long will it last? I don't know. I do know a market crash could extremely negative for an asset class that's emerging here. Bitcoin is an emerging asset class, and it hasn't become a it hasn't become it could go down really big time if the stock market were to crash, and if there were margin calls or something, you know. Whereas I don't think that would happen with gold and silver. In fact, quite the opposite might happen with gold and silver. Dow Jones Industrial average 36,127. So I guess in other words, what I'm saying about Bitcoin is, uh, unless you're a long-term hodler, and you're just a long-term hodler would sit on it right through the whole thing. Like they would buy the Bitcoin now, pay whatever 40,000 or whatever, and if there's a market crash and Bitcoin were to go down to 15,000, they would just still hang on to it. And then on the other side of the market crash, Bitcoin would go back up to gosh knows what, 100,000, 200,000. It wouldn't be like it never happened because they just hold it all the way through. You know, whatever downside it had during some sort of a crash. And I'm not absolutely certain that gold and silver won't go down during a crash as well, because during a crash, what happens is money disappears from the system at a frighteningly fast pace. And there's a very short period in time there where you can spike into deflation, actually, just for a very short period in time. While you see how the Federal Reserve's getting quicker than they used to be. They're getting ultra fast now in the computer age. They just basically, it'll last as long until they come out and get Janet Yellen to announce that they're going to make everybody whole. You remember during the Silicon banking crisis, how long did it take them? She come out and announced, "Oh, don't worry, everybody, we got you back." Yeah, $400 billion they pumped in like one day. Boom, there. Well, they'll do the same thing again. But you could have a very short period where everything sells off before they get in there. And it might only last a day. So if your big hopes are that you're going to save dollars and use those dollars to rush in there when we get the deflationary spike or we get some sort of a deflationary event where there's a big sell-off, and you're going to use those dollars to buy whatever luxury items you want, houses, whatever, dollars, pennies on the dollar, whatever, you got all this floating around in your mind, it might not last long enough for you to do that. It might be almost an instantaneous thing where the whole thing goes down and they prop it up with the money printer so quick, and then it goes in the opposite direction, and you're SOL with all your dollars then at that point, because the dollar will take a haircut the next day. We got to think about all those things, all those factors when you're trying to navigate your way through this crisis period. 69-cent dollars on oil, 69.06, down 32 cents. By gosh, this is something that could really scream to the upside if the war breaks out big. Especially in the Middle East. U.S. 10-year is 4.1 today. It's down 13 basis points. And the U.S. 30-year is down no, it's just down. No, it's 1 basis point. Sorry. No, the 10-year is down 1.1 basis point. And the 30-year is 0.7 of 7/10 of 1 basis point down. I didn't see that other zero there. But they're both dropping today. And 4.1 on the 10-year and 4.21 on the 30-year. And the U.S. dollar index is at 103.43. Where's the chart so you can see what it's doing? It's dropping right now. Dollar's falling. So maybe this afternoon, silver will start to catch a bid again, and so will gold. And you know what? I think I forgot to do gold while I was in here. Or did I? Can't remember now. Did I do gold? Well, we're going to do it. 2028 today, and it's up $3.20. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Like and subscribe. Remember, mentally prepare yourself now for the worst. I don't know what you got to do for mental preparation. For me, it's always been like when I go to the dentist. I got to have a little bit of mental preparation ahead of time, It's not that bad, though, going to the dentist. But this is a lot worse. But you got to mentally prepare yourself. And once you've got mentally prepared, you're like in a state of zen. You're like, you're like okay with it. You're not going to let it scare the urine out of you when it happens, because you know it's coming. You know it's going to be bad. You've mentally prepared for it. You take a deep breath when it hits. Everybody else around you is lighting their hair on fire with Bic lighters and peeing themselves and running around the house screaming. And you're like, and they say, well, how can you stay so calm? They just dropped the bomb on whatever. And you're like, yeah, I knew this was coming. I could see it coming. And they say, well, how did you know this was coming? Nobody else knew this was coming. Well, yeah, the signs have been showing up for almost for years now that we're advancing toward this. Should have been a no-brainer. Now is the time, if you haven't mentally prepared, to mentally prepare yourself, along with regular preparations. How's your regular preparations? You got some water? Got some canned food? Got some candles? You got a generator? You got, well, a generator might not be the best thing, but I mean, you got to think about all of it and have all of it ready. A solar panel, batteries, everything you prepare for a hurricane. Medical kit, Sad times we live in. And then the worst part of it is we're doing it to ourselves. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys in the next show, and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.